And here we go. We are at the top of the hour. It's 11 o'clock. Today is August 21st. And I'd like to welcome you to our Masterclass support call. My name is Mamie Lamley, and I am the Director of Coaching for Bank. And I'm here to help support you. Our gal, Stephanie, who's the Director of Training, she is out on vacation and enjoying her family. And that's how we roll here at Bank, because family is very important to us. And so I'm going to be here answering questions for you. The questions doesn't have to be limited to last night's call. It could be in regards to Bank. It could be in regards to how we integrate, how it could apply to your businesses. It's all up for grabs. How's that?
I have a question.
Yes, Teresa.
Okay. I'm setting up a website called Healing with the Rev. I'm a reverend and I do alternative healing. And so I plan on using Facebook to get out an ad or two or three or four, but I don't know how to structure this. So I hit all of the people. Is there a way to do a video using Bank so I can do like 4 videos or put everything and consolidate it into one?
Absolutely. We are all for personalities. And the good news is this. Did you take the trial where you have the ability to use the artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Perfect. Because the artificial intelligence can help you do several things. Write up the ad, write up the articles that you want to do, and then run it through the artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, let me just show you. I was just working with a client just a moment ago. You guys mind if I just share you what it looks like? How we've been working it? Okay, hold tight.
Please do.
Let me go ahead and just show you a little bit more about our AI. I use AI for everything. I do it for text messages. I use it for email. I wrote 2 books using artificial intelligence. And how I actually learned to do that is this. How many of you have books in you that you want to write? There's many. All right. And what happened was I wasn't sure, I thought because I'm a nurturer, because I'm nurturing, I thought I would be writing in nurturing voice. And what I didn't take into consideration is that I have 17 years in software development.
Oh my.
And so 17 years in software development, did not realize that I was using my software development voice when I was writing my personal development book. Not a good thing when you're trying to target the market for personal development and you're actually writing it in Knowledge Blueprint. And honestly, Knowledge Blueprint was not my target avatar. And so what happened was I needed to learn how to, and you saw us last night, how to actually, my knowledge voice as a writer, I had to actually take off my knowledge glasses and literally put on both my nurturing. I like to do this. I like to wear a lot of glasses here. And put on my nurturing and action glasses because that's the market that I wanted to reach. And so I had to take off that knowledge glasses and then use the AI. So my publisher was not happy with me. The printer wasn't happy with me because yes, Jane, thank you. Because when I was about to turn in my manuscript, I realized I had the wrong voice that I had written.
Mamie, was it a better book after?
I'm still writing. I'm still rewriting it. That's the thing. It took me 3 years to write it in my knowledge voice, and now it's been 7 months. And so along with everything else, that's what's happening. So Teresa, this is what I would recommend that you do. You use the AI to actually help guide you in balancing your writing. So you can actually do it two ways. The first way is you can actually write in each of the personalities, or you can take what you write and make it all four personalities. There is no right, wrong, or otherwise. Okay? And so if you really want to target just action personalities, then write it in action. If you want to target action, nurturing, blueprint, and knowledge, and that this is the best way that I can tell you how to do it. So let me share my screen for a moment. And thank you for the question. All right, let me know when you can see my screen. I'm going to show you how to actually use your AI to help you write. Can everybody see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, awesome. So say I wanted to make sure that I covered action. The easiest way that I did it was, how many of you actually have cards? How many of you actually have cards? Whoops. Okay, so these are the cards. If you have cards, the easiest way is to take a look at your cards.
Thank you. Bye.
And use the verb.
It's on.
Hold on.
This goes on. Yeah.
If you could please mute.
Right now, if not, then I'll wait until I get where I'm going, and then I'll sit down and
Hold on, guys.
Okay.
Please mute.
I'm sure they probably posted it. You know, like they're going to repost it.
There we go. I'm going to mute everybody for a moment.
Mammy, if you want help, I can help you. Let me know.
Okay, thank you. All right. So what I would recommend is that you take your cards, Teresa. Take the cards. And then what you do is use the words from the cards. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take away my virtual background so you can see everything that I'm doing. None. All right. Thank you for bearing with me. So just go ahead and use your cards. And you can start with your cards. For those of you who don't have your cards and you have your dollar trial and you have your artificial intelligence, this is how you can actually get the same information. You put in the word that you want to start with. I'm using action. I'm going to decode it. And if you notice, there's my action. This is where you can find your action values. I would take 1 to 3 words off of that card and infuse it into your writing. Everybody got that so far?
So I can see your screen.
Sharing your screen there? Because it wasn't shared.
Okay. Thank you for keeping me honest, dear guys. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
So if you don't have your cards, because I noticed in the chat, some of you did say that you did not have your cards. So this is where you can actually find the same information on the cards. And this is how you can actually learn to use Bank even more and integrate it into what you're doing. You can start with your value cards here in the artificial intelligence. This is where you can pick 1 to 3 words that you want to use in your writing. The other things that you can take into consideration is, I'm going to skip over video because you can review that later. You can then go in and click on each of these tabs and you will get behaviors of an action that you can then incorporate into your writing. And you can use sales tips to incorporate into writing, as well as triggers. So what are triggers, you probably are asking me? Triggers are what helps an action say yes to you. So these are the triggers that allows you to share, communicate via writing and in verbally, where you can actually use some of these tips and tricks to actually get points across so that you are speaking in that language. Tripwires are what actually gets no's from our personalities. In each personality, we have each of these categories that can help you infuse it into your writing. The other thing too is if you wanted to, you can take your value set, especially if you're going to be writing a lot, you can take your values and then get synonyms to actually replace the different words so that you have a variation of writing words that you can use in your writing. Okay? And then what you do is you start to combine them into the writing here. And, you know, I don't write directly from here all the time, but let me go ahead and just show you how we can actually infuse this. Whoops. I'm going to go ahead and just go to my Facebook. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull out my About page. And so what you can do is, if you notice, you have the ability to do voice to text. So those of you who are authors or you don't like writing, you can actually voice into your phone, and then it'll actually come out as a text. Then you can copy and paste. That's how I actually wrote a book in 5 days. I spoke my book into my telephone, into the AI, then I copied it after I decoded it, and then I put it into my book format. Okay, I'm so sorry, but for some reason my computer is really slow today. All right, hold tight. Teresa, is this helping you?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else have any suggestions for Teresa as she starts to write, compile different things? Anyone else?
I do have a question.
Okay, hold tight. My computer is not loading quick. So hold on, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see who's talking. Who was that?
Okay, this is Greg.
Aloha, Greg.
Okay, so if let's say that we have an action person that has written us and we get that information that their action based off of either their email or their LinkedIn. So
Yes.
when we speak back to them, do we want action when we speak back to them, or do we want to be the opposite?
You want to be in action with them. So the key for bank guys is this. When you understand the personality of the person that you're communicating with, you want to take on that personality. And the easiest way that I can tell you is this. So Greg, if I'm going to pretend I'm you, I'm the blueprint, yes?
Yes.
So as a blueprint, when you're talking to an action, you're completely opposite of that person. So if you started talking to me as a blueprint, you'd be talking in terms of systems and structures and giving me details. From a action perspective, I don't want details. I want bottom lines. I want you to summarize it and give me what's in it for me. And so what we need to do is we need to be able to take off our blueprint glasses, in your case, Greg, because you're blueprint, and you literally have to put on the action personality glasses. And now for you, there is a potential, because action is the last position in your bank code, that you may need to kind of get that courage up to switch into action. Because from a blueprint perspective, it is very matter of fact. I will give you step-by-step instructions, and I will tell you exactly what you need to do. With an action, they don't want to hear that. From an action perspective, they want to hear energy. They want you to give them the bottom line. So say we had to give you step-by-step instructions on, tell me, what do you do, Greg?
A realtor.
You're a realtor. Okay. I can give you a really good example on that. From a blueprint perspective, you might be talking to an action in these terms. Well, you know, when I sell the house, it is X square footage. It is in a gated community. You see how matter of fact it is?
Yeah.
From an action perspective, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. And if you were the action, Greg, this is how I would speak to you. You know, Greg, the house is unique. In fact, the selling points of it is we've got an amazing man cave on the bottom of the house where you can actually show off to your friends. Why? Because it has a bar, it has a movie screen. You see the difference?
Actually, I see the excitement that you have in your voice, but you're still that definition of what it has. And to me, that is the structure of the blueprint.
That is structure. With action, they want to know what the bells and whistles are. They want to know what the sizzles is. What is it? What's in it for them?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
because if I'm describing your house, let's say that you wanted me to sell your house.
yes.
As a blueprint, I'm going to come in and I'm going to evaluate your house. I'm going to do a 10-minute walkthrough and I'm going to see what I like about it. I'm going to see what I don't like about it. It may need flooring, it may need a kitchen update or something like that. But I'm going to ask you what you like about your house. Tell the buyer the good points that you see about your house, about your neighbor, what you like, but also why are you moving? And so that's a negative thing. Why are you moving? It could be a positive thing because you could have a job promotion or something like that, you know. So it's not really about the house, but on my side of things, I've got to know the physical aspects of your house. What am I going to relay to that buyer that wants to know, hey, was the roof updated? Hey, there's any problems with plumbing, or did you have any flooding? Those are technical details that you're not concerned about it as an action. But
that is correct. You've got the distinction there, Greg.
Can I add something to this?
Sure.
Sure, Jane.
I think you need to ask what their code is first to determine what you're going to say to them, because you're talking from your own code.
Yes, you are.
Blueprint knowledge. And I think you need to understand that like an action person's like, what's my house worth? A knowledge person says, what are the comps? A blueprint says, what are the steps? And
the nurturer
says, how are you going to take care of me? So like you really got to, before you do the walkthrough, find out the code, then do the walkthrough, and then you know what filter to put on when you're talking to them.
Exactly. And so I take the time. I mean, most of the time I look at the house first. I just talk to the person, find out who they are, if I can actually work with them or not. And that, it has nothing to do with the house at that point in time. It's
exactly. And so, Greg, with Bank, that's the whole reason we use Bank. And that's why Bank can actually help you understand what you're going to be asking the client depending on their personality. So it's taking off your blueprint glasses and putting on their glasses. So the questions that you're asking them comes from their perspective and not from your perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes. Now how can I convince them? And this is kind of I don't know, it's kind of an ugly way of saying it, convince them, but how can I talk them into taking the bank assessment? I'm getting a lot of pushback, and people see it, they acknowledge that I sent it to them, but they just don't take that action to go through the process of the 90 seconds to evaluate it.
And I'm not just going to talk about real estate. I'm going to say that this applies to almost any industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
For you and for me. For me, I can only speak from my experience. I have adapted the fact that you cannot have an appointment with me unless you actually take you actually crack your code. So that's a requirement for me. Okay? So anything that I do, if you ever try to get an appointment with me, the first thing you do is crack your code. And I actually take it a step further. When I meet with a client, I always let them know why they're taking why they're cracking their code with me. And that's why in the first masterclass, Sherry actually gave you a script to use. When you're first starting out with your personalities, I would recommend that you follow that script because it is already coded to all 4 languages. All right? And so it is a matter of, hey, in including it in what we call your protocol. Because a lot of times what happens is if it's just part of the steps to do business with me, and you make it depending on the personality again, that's the verbiage that you're going to also use. You know, a lot of times I'm sorry.
Was that in the first video? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's in the personality video. In fact, if you take a look at your personality map, it included the script of how you actually hand the cards over to them. Okay. So I'm going to have you refer back to that. With you being a blueprint, it's going to be really important to understand if you actually have what code sitting in front of you, because you will always not always, you will have a tendency to actually speak from that blueprint personality. So as you learn who the people are in front of you, then you may even change your tone. You may even change the body language that you're using. With a nurturer, they will feel you before they hear you. With a knowledge, they're already watching what you're saying. From an action, they're waiting for you to just give them the bottom line. Okay? And so this is where it's going to be important as you all practice bank, is to practice taking off your glasses and putting on the glasses of the other person so you can shift. So that you can shift into it. Okay? Jane, since you're there, and if you can see comments coming through, let me know if I need to answer anything on that, okay?
Okay, I'm answering them on the chat.
All right, thank you very much. So Greg, it's just a perspective and understanding. See, the good news is this, your expertise is real estate. Now, all we need to do is how do we incorporate bank into your expertise? And you'll be able to actually close. And this is for everybody. Once you recognize the personality that you're going to be dealing with, you can shift by just using a few words that will align with the value set of that personality. All right. Now, the other thing that I want you to also keep in mind is this. We are all 4 personalities, and each of the personality positions have an importance, okay? So there's an importance for each of those positions. The first position is who you are. That's who you are when you're not stressed, okay? The second position is who you're working to be, or who you are wanting to be. And the third is your stress code. And then the fourth, it's not the code that you don't like, but it's the code that is least important to you. If you can actually determine the primary code of each of the people that you're going to be working with, you're one step ahead in making connections. So if you know, and how are you going to know? It's practice. I would highly recommend that you start to, this may not appeal to you, but you start to memorize some of the different value sets for each of the codes. And when you hear the words, then you'll be able to actually start to guess what the personality is. Now, if you get to do it on a on a face-to-face basis, then I would say bring out those cards. And I have a tendency, I don't let my cards go until they're ready. I'll say, I'm going to pick on you, Greg, because you asked the question. Greg, do me a favor. Take a look at these cards. If you notice, I switched it over so that you can see the verbiage on it. What I'd like you to do, if I'm in person, take a look at the information. And in order of the importance, I want you to put the most important at the top and the least important on the bottom. And then I hand the cards over. What I find is that when I'm holding up the cards like this, people are already reaching for the cards. And I don't release the cards until I'm done giving them the instructions. And then they say, well, what's those cards going to do? Well, this will help me serve you better and save us both some time. And then once they do that, they will then go ahead and put the cards in order. There's only one instance that they didn't refuse to put the cards in order, but they took a long time to actually determine what order they wanted it in. So when they are putting the cards in order, I want you to keep in mind, observe what they're doing. Most knowledge people will read every single word on the card, and they will take a little longer to decide what order to be in. Why? Because knowledge personalities do not want to be wrong, and they want to make sure that when they hand it over to you, they have it right. Okay? My blueprint personalities will actually go through it, and then they'll ask me questions such as, well, let me see. I have a lot of them in here. Then they lay it down on the table. And then they said, but I also have some in here. And then they lay it down in the table. So they have a system that they're going through to actually put that together. Okay? My nurturers, the first thing they do is they go, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is all about, oh, this is the one that's me. Yes? All right? The action is all into it. This is what happens to my blueprints. They take a look at, not my blueprints, my actions. They go like this and they go, oh, hell no. And they just throw the cards away, right? Nonverbal cues will also give you an idea of what each personality is all about. You'll hear them say it as they speak. You'll also see it as they write. So I'm going to come back to Teresa. Teresa, when you're writing, keep in mind that if you want to attract action and nurturing, if that's your avatar, then write in action and nurturing. Also include blueprint and knowledge. And make sure that you have in there high amounts of nurturing and knowledge words. Okay? Any other questions? Greg, did we answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you, Jane, for helping out there. Teresa, if you're still there, did we answer your question? Okay.
There's some comments just about people saying that they agree with you about making, getting people to crack their code before setting the appointment.
Yes.
Yeah. I have doctors, I have lawyers who use it. I have realtors who use it. Jane also works with realtors. I just got off a call, I would say 2 days ago, with a large real estate company. The owner has decided that as they hire new agents from this point forward, they will go through the bank training. Because what we did was we showed them how to incorporate bank languaging into their listings and into their sellers letters and contracts. We also taught them how to use the AI to up the languaging in their MLS. And when I was in Boston about before COVID, we were teaching I had a whole class of realtors. And what happened was when we talked about AI, we allowed them to bring in their listings and run it through the system. And they had this unique home that would be perfect for action. When we ran their MLS listing through the AI, it came out knowledge. And so what we did was we switched out a couple of the words to describe, because they had a unique feature in the house that would be awesome for actions who love to entertain. And then they posted it. You know, MLS takes at least 24 hours for it to update. So they went ahead and posted it on their website. And while we were in class, we had to ask that real estate agent to please put his phone on mute or silence, because he started getting buzzes in class because people were now looking at his listing, and wanted to book appointments to get into the home. And so we were kind of cracking up about that. Okay, so it could be used in all industries. We use it in doctors. So this is how we've used it in doctors setups.
Amy, could I ask a question in a moment, please? It's Jan here.
Sure, Jan.
If you guys want to put up your hands, you can go to the participant button.
Oh, sorry.
And then you can raise your hand on the right, and I'll call you out.
Awesome, Jane. Go ahead. Oh, no. Is it Jan? Jan.
Yeah, Jan. I put a question through in the chat, and Jane answered me straight away. So I was saying that I cut and pasted my own resume because I'm job hunting again in this stressful time. And it brought me back as blueprint. And I am knowledge, nurturing, blueprint, action. So as she was saying, oh, you're writing under stress. That was a big aha moment.
Yes.
But any tips on how to avoid that? Because obviously resume writing, you're under the gun. You've got to get something turned around quick because it's the first ones that get read. So it gets more stressful.
I can tell you this. I would highly recommend that you get your base resume completed. Yeah. And then I'm gonna recommend that you take the time for every company that you really want to position in, that you go out and you do research on the company, because the company has a culture, and the company also has a potential personality. And so when you know who we tell you, Tony Robbins says, let your prospect determine your presentation. Let the company determine your resume. Let the company determine your resume. Why? Because if you can align your resume with the company, then there is a likelihood that they will call you back. Let me give you an example. So back in 2000, it's been quite a bit of years. I have followed Sherry and Esther for many years, and I told them, when you're ready to hire trainers, I'm your gal. I want in as a trainer. And so back in 2014, I believe, they opened up positions to come on board as a trainer. So guess what I did? I went and I asked all my friends, anybody know what Sherry and Esther's codes are? And so they, action. Mamie's action is number 2, action nurturer. I said, okay, I got the nurturer. I got to figure out how to be action. And so what I did was I literally took my resume and my cover letter. I switched my cover letter to action, and I switched my resume to action nurturing. And believe it or not, within 8 minutes of me submitting my resume and my cover letter to Esther, she called me in 8 minutes. Wow. I wasn't really timing it. It just so happened I had looked at the clock when I had submitted my resume and my cover letter, and in 8 minutes she called me.
Amazing.
All right. So
thank you.
That one thing, let your prospect determine your presentation. Let the company determine your resume. Let your relationships determine how you act and speak. This is how we integrate bank. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Jane, is there anybody else out there with a question? Is
I
this
don't
been
think
valuable?
so. None yet, but I think we should give Mamie a applause for that.
Oh, thank you, Jan. Has that been valuable to you?
Yes, yes.
That's awesome. That's
I contract, so it can be a little difficult to do the research ahead of time because sometimes you're there looking for opportunities. So it's just doing a quicker turnaround, but there's always time to do a once around. And yes, I can take something from their website and put it into the AI and it will start to interpret that culture for me straight away, hopefully.
Awesome. I got one more nugget for you. Anybody else want that nugget?
I do. And then Laura June, do you want to share your story?
Okay.
After?
I'll get Laura June in a minute. The other nugget is this. You have the Chrome extension in LinkedIn. If there is anyone that you want to choose to work with, what better way to actually get to know them a little better than use the extension to do a little bit research on who they are. And then why not be proactive? You now know who they are and what their personality is. So why not send them a letter to see if they have any job opening? So now you make it your action. All right. You like that?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Mary.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Here you go, Laura. Come on out.
Hey, good morning. How is everyone today?
Good.
Good. Nice smile, Mamie. I really enjoy listening to you
Oh.
on a rainy Friday morning. Your smile brings out the sunshine here in the Lower Mainland. So that's But, you know, I have to tell you, this has been a really fun experience for me. I joined the Masterclass. It was really the first experience I've had with this. I had done other sort of color training, so some of the terms I was a bit familiar with, and I kind of had an idea what my colors or my bank code was.
Mm-hmm.
But I really struggled with that and trying to put it into order. And I swore obviously I'm a nurturer first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't for the life of me come up with the remaining three. It was brutal until last night. I had this absolute epiphany that in my career, in my business choice, I work under stress a lot. And when I work under stress, it brings out my high A. So here I thought I was a nurture action when really I'm a nurturing blueprint. So it was crazy, but it took me 3 weeks. So don't be discouraged if you're still confused about it, whatever. I thought I had my code nailed down, totally wrong. Once I figured it out, I spoke with my husband. Him and I, we were laughing hysterically last night. We laughed this morning. We figured myself out. We figured him out. We'd both been struggling with it. And now, hey, it's great and it's fun. Loving this.
What's your husband's code?
He is an A first, okay, which is why, and he's knowledge second. So he's AKBN. So I follow him. I thought it was high action, but I'm following his high action, making sure he doesn't jump off a cliff because I'm a high nurturer.
Amazing. Thank you. Give it up for Laura. Also. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Who else? Who else is out there? Jane?
I don't have anybody, but I have a question for you. That somebody was asking for whether or not there's a video on how to use the AI.
I believe there is. If you listen to Masterclass number 2, we've got a pretty detailed demo there for AI. So go ahead and fast forward about 45 minutes and you will get to the artificial intelligence side. Okay. What I'll do too is if I can get any videos on one of our other sites, I'll go ahead and move it there and then I'll let you know, hey, this is for AI. Okay.
I'm curious to know if other people have taken BANKCODE and started to code their spouses as well. And what have you found? Julie, what have you found?
It's funny because Mamie and I just talked about that before everybody came on, and my husband is the complete opposite. He starts from the front to the back, which makes us a really, really good team when it comes to dealing with, I'm in real estate, so dealing with clients, we both go out together. He's kind of just the background captain guy, drives around on the boat and stuff, but we make a really good team in whatever we do. I think because of that, we just do it naturally.
Awesome. You know, in bank, we have opposites attract and opposites attack. Okay. The two codes that usually will marry: action and blueprint, and knowledge and nurturing. Why? Because when we pull the two polarities together, they make one. And so they fill in those gaps for each other. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you're in relationships, you've been married. For me, I've been married for 40 years. It took me a long time to wonder why. Sometimes I told my husband, why did I marry you? You know, how many of you ever are in that position? At the same time, I can tell you, I would never trade that man for the world, because he does complete me. And now that we understand bank, we can complete each other. You know, we talk a little bit about the stories that we have, that we've encountered in bank. And, you know, it is, for those of you who were on emotional intelligence, you got to see how those opposites attract and how they also attack. And the one thing that I can give you, since I've been practicing bank for a while, and you can ask any trainer that's on here that's been with us a long time too, is that when you understand the value set of each of the personalities, then we step into a space where we can understand where they're coming from. And you know, if you haven't read the book, The Four Agreements, it starts with that one agreement: don't take anything personally. And that's a big one when you start to practice bank, because as individual personalities, our lives, you know, how many of you think that we live to always be that negative factor for the others? We aren't. It just so happens I'm a nurturing, my husband's a knowledge. What floats his boat doesn't float mine. But when we can find that common ground, that we understand how to coexist, it's magical. It's magical. You know? Yes, Jane.
Okay, Paula has a question and Bill's on deck.
Okay, Paula, what's up?
A very brief question. Can you remind us, or me, where's that script to invite someone to take their cards or to crack their code?
In the first, in your first map, let's see, you know, your success plans that you downloaded?
Okay.
Your success plan number 1 has the script in it.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Bill Thomas.
Well, thank you, Jane and Mamie. It looks like Maria Fontaine has answered my question. The $59, this morning I was playing around with the BCRM. And I was like, oh, okay, well, Sherry showed us how she was able to compose and then send out an email message to people who were on her lead list.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't see how I can do that, because it looked like the mail portion was grayed out when I selected a particular, what do you call them? Lead. But anyway, I think I know what I didn't do, or what I could do or should do. So I'll work with that and play around with that.
All right. And if you have any questions, Jane, do me a favor. Can you type in the chat box, coach@codebreakertech.com, coach@codebreakertech.com. If you have any.
I'm wondering if you want to just give them a little overview of what's going on behind the scenes in the back office.
I would love to do that, but unfortunately I cannot access the demo database right now. And I've got some sensitive information on my personal one, so I would love to, but I can't do that right now.
Okay.
Okay. But what you can do is you can actually take a look at last night's video. And if you have any questions, that's why I'm giving you my email. If you have any questions regarding that, I'd be happy to do that on a one-on-one. I just couldn't open up mine right now. For some reason, the internet is not opening any of my stuff. So I apologize for that, guys.
But there is a whole section on relationships, right? We seem to have opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box on marriage here.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not included in the dollar trial. So Jane, the relationship part is not there. Okay. For those of you who do have access to the online training, you'll be able to access training specifically for relationships. Is there any particular question that they're asking?
Somebody's asking how they got together with their husband in the first place.
I don't know how they got together with their husband in the first place. I don't think I could find that answer in any of the stuff that I have.
I was thinking about what you said earlier about working with people in organizations, and not only how you work with the people on the outside of the organization, but also how you work with the people on the inside. And one of the things that I'm working with my assistant is to not take it personally when something goes wrong. You know, to be emotionally intelligent and to realize that I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at the fact that the process didn't work. We need to review the process. She's a high blueprint nurturer. So I think she could stand to listen to a bit of this and just realize, oh, you know.
You know, the one thing that I can give to you as nuggets is this. When, even if all you did with bank was understand these 4 value sets, this will take you a very long way. Why? Because as you begin to understand each of the personality values that mean a lot to them, you'll be able to then understand how to respond, how to react, how to take action, and also what not to do. And, you know, in the next 30 days, if you've got your trial, I would highly recommend that you take time to be in that AI and take a look at the triggers and the tripwires and the value sets. Because, you know, for the longest time, that's all I actually had, and that's how I learned. And I can tell you this story. As you get accustomed to each of the personalities, start to think outside of the box. You know, I would say within 2 days of getting trained, so let me tell you this, within 2 days of getting trained in bank, I wasn't a trainer, I wasn't a coach. I got to spend 2 days with Sherry at a Codebreaker Summit. And what I learned is, going back to the corporation I worked for, I used to work for a broadcast software. I had 5 levels above me, and I was a global implementation manager, and yet I had 5 levels above me. And then 7 departments actually reported to me. When I worked in that industry, we had major communication problems. Anybody else had that issue where our development team didn't know what the sales was selling? And we would say, oh my God, our sales team went out and they sold air again. And then they came back and said, and our action personality director, sales director, would come in to talk to our knowledge and blueprint development and quality control. And they would say, you know, here, all you got to do is build me a system that can track programs and commercials. And my blueprints are asking, well, how do you want that to happen? What details do I have to have? What bells and whistles do I need to, I don't know, just do it. We just sold it, right? And it's like, oh my God. And so when I went to Sherry's course, I realized that I had an action VP of sales. I had a blueprint in the gap analysis and business analysis, and I had a knowledge running our development department. And in my implementation department, I had some wrong people because they didn't like people, but they loved developing. And so when I came back from that 2-day, I came back to a really nice gift. They told me that I have to lay off 39 people in my department. And I'm like, well, if I lay off 39 people, that just leaves me and 5 others. Who's going to do all the work for the 39 people, right? And so they said, well, we'll give you a promotion and we'll give you a little raise. And I'm like, that's not going to equal to 39 other people's jobs, right? And so I asked them, how's about if we do this? Would you allow me 3 days in a leadership workshop? You know, I was a manager, so I could call that kind of stuff. And they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, you know, I just learned some concepts here that I think could help us. So what I did was we cracked the codes of all 39 employees. I cracked the codes of the 5 people above me. And you probably are going, how the hell did I do that? I'll tell you in a moment. And I cracked the codes on the 7 departments that reported to me. And this is what we found. We found that we had some wrong people in the wrong positions. The reason why we were having major problems with creating the software and having about 1,000 bugs is because we had a VP of sales who didn't give us details. They were just giving us the bottom line. And so my development team decided that they'd just take it on themselves and then just create what they thought they heard. Major communication problems. What happened was once we did the code crack, we said, you know what? We've got a couple people in my implementation team that really belongs in the development team. And I've got some developers that really would be awesome client facing. So we actually reutilized 39 of those employees, and I did not have to lay them off. When we were able to communicate the details that our blueprints and knowledge is needed to actually correctly build a software program, we were able to close a $23 million contract. 39 of my employees were able to choose the country that they wanted to work in. And then from that point forward, we put in a protocol for hiring so that we would hire based on the different personalities that we needed, and the skill sets came with the personality. So we didn't have to train personality, we didn't have to train skill sets. All we did was have to train product. Isn't that amazing? And so if you start to look at what bank can do in your life, think outside of the box. That's why we said to Jan, you know, let the company determine your resume. I saw one of the comments. The principal runs the school. We're going to probably need to know what the principal's value sets are so that we can, you know, we didn't say that it was going to be easy. But when you understand bank, and that's one of my the memes that I use. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I said it was going to be worth it. And that's what bank is all about. Bank is worth learning. And the one thing that Sherry talked about last night is once you learn bank, you can never forget it. You can never unlearn it. And if during this masterclass, you take away how to understand the value sets of 4 different personalities, then we have done our job. Because you will never be able to communicate unless you forget everything or unlearn it. Bank can make your life a whole lot easier. Bank can actually help you interact, not only in the business sector, but also in relationships. If you've got grandchildren, I pride myself. I have 2 grandchildren. I got 2 more on the way. And it was because of Bank that my blueprint daughter can live hand in hand with my action granddaughter. Because my daughter thought she was the worst mom that ever lived. And in actuality, she wasn't. All she had to do was step into the shoes of my action grandbaby to realize that her rules and regulations that she lived by did not apply to our grandbaby. And the best thing that could happen for my grandbaby and my daughter is that my daughter now lives a more fruitful life because she takes time to have fun. She takes time to step into her action. And together, it's been an amazing journey for them. And my grandbaby is turning 5, and it has changed their life. So that's all I'm asking you. Open that door, be ready and willing to take that next step in a different personality to make sure that we are emotionally intelligent. We're upholding spiritual intelligence. And it's amazing how business intelligence and sales intelligence falls into place for us. And then you use your tool set of artificial, and then boom, it's a no-brainer.
Mamie, we have one more question.
We got time for one more question.
Okay, so Mary Sloan is asking, can you tell us what the $59 a month program gives us? And I think maybe we should just talk about what's happening in the fall.
Is that you or is that her?
Mary Sloan is asking about $59.
Okay, so we have the $1 trial. $1 trial gives you access to our Bank Pass, which is unlimited code cracks and artificial intelligence. That $1 trial will then turn into the $59 a month if you continue. Okay, and then I believe what will happen is if you would like to take training online, you're going to have the ability to go from $59 to $99 a month, and it is not a contract. You can actually sign up for it for access to online training, and then you can cancel at any time. Okay, and I don't understand what the comment was about fall. What's coming up?
There's going to be some coaches offering training in the fall if you want to go through this in depth.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend that the person who recommended you to the masterclass, that you double check with them because they may already be certified trainers with us. And Sherry will actually be talking about that in our next call. Okay, but we are looking for coaches and we are looking for trainers. So if this resonates with you and you have more questions, you can just go ahead and email me at coach@codebreakertech.com.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Has this been valuable to you? If it's been valuable, give me a thumbs up so I can see. Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. All right. Okay. So we are almost.
This is all awesome. Thank you so much. It's so valuable, and your example was very inspiring.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and email us. Thank you so much for your participation, Teresa, Greg, Julie, Jan, all of you, Bill, Vondelin, I love that name. Awesome. And thank you, Jane, for showing up and helping me out here. I really appreciate that.
Can you tell us the email address again to contact you?
Absolutely. Coach
Okay.
at codebreakertech.com.
Coach at codebreakertech.com.
Yeah. And if you do, like I said, if you go back to the person who invited you, they can actually help you. If they're a coach or a trainer, they can actually give you demos. They can answer questions. Yep. If you don't have anyone that you're connected with, go ahead and email me at coach, and then I'll get back to you on that. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to let it go. We do it by saying 1, 2, 3 bank. So I'm going to have you all come off of mute. We're going to pull up that energy. We're going to rub our hands together and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and we're going to let it go with bank. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Bang! Awesome.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Have a good one.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye.
Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend.
Bye.
Here for action people.
You guys are awesome. Bye.
All right.
See you in a minute, baby.
You got it.